Welcome back, everyone, to Blues Brothers Sportscast 2024 edition. We're so excited to cover the reigning national championship, Michigan Wolverines, Team 145, and new head coach, Sharon Moore. Now, before we get into that, I would just like to say a thank you to everyone who has watched, viewed, listened over the years, because this is the 10th season of the Blue Brothers Sportscast. Yes, that is 10 years. And so this show started off as an audio podcast. If you've been through it with us, then you've been with the multiple co-hosts that we've had, also the transition to video format here on YouTube. And if you've been with us all that time, or if you're a new listener, I just want to say thank you so much. Really do love doing this, and thanks for hanging out during it. And a quick congratulations to all of you for making it through another off season. It was a long one this year after the national championship, but it was well worth the wait, because this is game week. We have Michigan football this coming Saturday. So I don't know how you spent your off season, but I'm sure that some of you enjoyed NCAA 25 coming out, because that helped pass the time. I loved it. And I have to say, I was super rusty not playing one of those games for nearly a decade. So happy to have that back in our lives. But of course, more than happy about that for having Michigan football this coming Saturday. Now, typically what I've done previously is that I have a season preview episode that is even before game one for Michigan, which would have been last week. But I decided to do a combination this year of doing the season preview with also the week one preview, partially because I don't have a lot of notes on Fresno State. It's difficult to do a preview for week one because there's not a lot of stuff to go off of for this current season because nobody's played yet. So I figured it'd be good just to mesh the two. So we're going to start off talking about thoughts for the Michigan Wolverine 2024 season as a whole, and then talking a little bit about Fresno State coming up this weekend. So you're probably all aware that Michigan came in ranked 9th in the preseason AP poll. Honestly, I don't have too much of a problem with that. I would much rather see a team be ranked low and have an opportunity to prove themselves than be ranked high and considered overrated. So are they a little bit lower than anticipated? Yes, I was expecting a little bit of a drop because they lost their main player in J.J. McCarthy plus a slew of other players. But J.J. McCarthy was kind of that difference maker, because you saw the difference of the team from 2021 to 22 and 23. So I'm going to be giving a prediction for the regular season as a whole. I'm not going to really get into Big Ten championship, bowl game, playoff perspective and all that. It's really just going to be the regular season, because that's what we know is going to happen, are those 12 games that they're going to play. So let's take a quick look at the identity of the Michigan Wolverines and who they have been for the past few years. Because if you want to talk about regular seasons for this Michigan Wolverine team, they have not lost a game since October of 2021. Yeah, think about that for a minute, because they've had 2 undefeated regular seasons back to back. And it's not until you go back to that 2021 Michigan State game that you get to their first loss of the regular season. This team has been fantastic during the season. They've had their blunders in the offseason sometimes. Obviously, last season was the undefeated season, but talking regular season, they know how to get it done. And so there's good confidence going into this year as well. Going back to October of 2021, that then is a total of 28 regular season games that they have won in a row. 28. Added perspective on that, how long ago was the 2021 season? Well, we remember that Cade McNamara was still on the team, Eric All was still on the team, Aiden Hutchinson was still on the team, and then when Mike Sanderstill was playing, he was a wide receiver. But of course, this is a different team, and this is a different schedule. They've got big games against Texas, USC, Oregon, and of course, OSU to cap off the season. I'll be honest, if J.J. McCarthy was still on the team, I'd feel comfortable with saying that they would go undefeated again, but that's not the case. So really going through that slew of games, plus other games, but those 4 games specifically, it's going to be really tough to say that they're going to make it out without a single loss. So I was hovering between the prediction of a 2-loss regular season or a 1-loss regular season, but honestly, it's defense that makes the difference. Defense wins championships. And even though the Michigan defense loses players every year to the NFL, they replace them in an instant. And I'm super excited to watch more of Grant and Graham at that defensive front and see them work in that battlefield of the trenches and just cause chaos. And so with them and all the other defensive players, haven't even gone into the other ones, I think Michigan will be able to get work done this season and do well. Huge question marks for the offense, obviously, but defense makes the difference. So I'm predicting that they're going to go 11-1 during the regular season. And with that, depending how it falls, could turn into a Big Ten championship appearance. But of course, with a record like that, you're more than likely looking at a playoff berth as well. 12-team playoff, going to be pretty interesting, but also opens the door for getting in for more teams. And now let's talk about that season opener. Saturday, August 31st at 7:30 p.m., the Michigan Wolverines will be facing off against Fresno State Bulldogs, and they are currently a 21.5-point favorite. That number is sure to change throughout the week, but that is where it currently stands. So the Fresno State Bulldogs have actually been doing pretty well, not just last year, but for a few years now. They've had 10-win seasons. They had a 9-win season last year. They were 4-4 in conference. They had some pretty key games where they actually went on the road and beat Purdue. They beat a pretty decent Boise State team, and they capped off their season with a bowl win against New Mexico State. Their head coach, Jeff Tedford, was actually previously a head coach at Cal, and he has been the coach there for 2 years. This is going into his third season, and he has actually quite a few returning players that help give him a good foundation for his team this year. Now, if you recognize the name Tedford, you'll know him associated with quarterbacks that went into the NFL, and that's what he's known for, is producing good quarterbacks. And so he's tied with Aaron Rodgers, Trent Dilfer, Joey Harrington, just to name a few. And one of his key players returning is his quarterback. Mikey Keene is his quarterback, and he threw for about 67% and had 24 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Now, people will admit that Keene is not really a deep ball throwing quarterback, but they do give him high praise on being able to read defenses. So if given an opportunity, he can still move the ball down the field, just not in huge chunk plays. Their two main running backs from last season are returning as well, along with two main wide receivers who accounted for 9 touchdowns. The defense returned some key players as well and got an interesting transfer from Corey Foreman from USC, who was one of the top players in the 2021 recruiting class. So they come in with a good foundation with returning players, keeping their head coach, having the same starting quarterback, and knowing what their system is and how they plan to play each game. And now time for your Michigan Wolverines. Your 3 years in a row Big Ten champions and the reigning national champions. They have some big players returning. These are just a few of them, definitely not all of them. But you have the likes of Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Will Johnson, Bakari Page, Quentin Johnson on defense. On offense, you've got Colston Loveland, Andrew Gentry, Donovan Edwards, Khalil Mullings, Tyler Morris, and Samaj Morgan. Those are just some of the players that saw some of the most time last year. There are still plenty more that got playing time that we will be seeing yet again this year. Most interesting conversation, of course, is the quarterback battle. Now, up until recently, it was a 3-person race. But it came out recently that Jack Tuttle was recovering from some kind of injury. I've not heard the details. I don't know how long that's going to go. So I don't know if he's out for the season or going to be out for a few games. But with him being removed, I really strongly believe that Alex Orji is going to be the number 1 quarterback. I just don't see Davis Warren at that level. Obviously, I'm not an insider. I'm not claiming to be. I'm not at practices. Take it for what's worth. We're going to find out more Saturday night. Now, even though this is the first year for head coach Sharon Moore, and he had his games last year that he was in charge of, I don't anticipate that we're going to see things too drastically different. Obviously, they brought in specific coaches for the defense to keep the system running the same. He had his place on offense, and so things are probably going to look pretty similar. But if Alex Orji is the quarterback, then he is different capabilities than J.J. McCarthy did. Also, Sharon Moore, since he doesn't have to follow Harbaugh's lead, might make some alterations, but in the end, I believe that we're still going to see that boa constrictor mentality of the defense just wearing down the other team. so that the offense can slowly progress through the game, wear them out, and pound them into the ground. So I don't really expect to see anything flashy. I think that you'll see a lot of Donovan Edwards and Khalil Mullins because they're going to get the ground game running. Will they still pass the ball? Yes. It's not JJ McCarthy, though. So the question is, how much are they going to do it? Because they didn't even need to do a lot last year. I think this game is not going to be anything too crazy because they're going to look to get their groove for the 2024 season, especially as fast as possible, considering what game is coming next week. But that's next week. And for this week, I'm predicting a Michigan win at home at night of Michigan 31, Fresno State 13. Now, football season has already started with an exciting week 0. If you didn't watch that, then you really missed out. But don't forget that this Labor Day weekend, the weekend for football actually starts on Thursday night. So there's a full weekend of games between Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. You'll have to wait until Saturday night, 7:30 for the Michigan game, but there'll be plenty of games to keep you entertained until then. So thanks again for watching, and until next time, go Blue!